morning to all of you. Can I have a loud good morning from the room? Perfect, because the next 30 odd minutes we're going to talk about AI, where we're of course going to compare it with humans. So I of course want to give the first battle to humans and say a loud good morning. Good morning once again. Good morning. Yeah, so I think we can say that humans of course can do better good mornings than AI. And AI can't really replace humans that ways. But eventually, of course, we'll try to see this narrative building in over the next 30 odd minutes. But before we start, would love to get a quick round of introduction from such a diverse panel that we have in the room, right? So maybe all of you can just take quick 30 seconds and talk about what exciting work you're doing before, of course, we can have this fruitful discussion.
Thank you, Aditya. So I'm Shruti Kharbanda, Robotics and AI Chairperson, Indian Chamber of Commerce. I also have a startup where I'm launching a robotic sports league. So this is Robo versus Robo Sports, and it's the future of sports that as we see it. Really exciting, and we're building humanoids for it. So.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Deepak Shama, co-founder and managing partner at India Accelerator. At IA, we invest in promising startups with extraordinary potential. Not only we invest in startups, we also provide them a 360-degree mentorship for their business growth, tech, and geographic expansion. We are based out of Gurgaon and have offices in Ahmedabad, Pune, Dubai, and US. We also invest in the startups through our AIF funds. So we have 3 Cat 1 angel funds and 1 Cat 2. And there is a Gift City IFSC as well, with which we are waiting an approval on. Over the last 7 years of our existence, we have accelerated more than 200 plus startups. We were recognized as the best startup accelerator in the country in 2021 by Startup India. Pleased to be here, along with my panelists.
Hello, everybody. So I am Harneet Singh, right now Chief AI Officer and founder at Rabbitt AI. Previously, I founded 5 companies, exited some of them, running some of them. And this company, we recently got backed by NVIDIA and other players. And what we are doing is we are creating small language models fine-tuned for various industry use cases, specifically education, defense, and customer experience. Personally, I've also served as a AI consultant to South Korean Navy, and that's where I got this tag of Lion Founder. So they jokingly called, oh, you are a lion, and you, because like 6 are said to be lions, and you are founding Rabbitt, that's the irony. So in that group, so that's where it became famous in the GenAI world, and my marketing team suggested to do a trademark on this, buy this domain, and follow the Ashneer Grover philosophy. So that's where I am, and I happen to share same college as Ashneer Grover, IIT Delhi. So yeah, that's in, and probably in the session we can share some interesting things. And glad to be here among such experienced and diverse group of people. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Gaurav Baid, co-founder and chief product officer at Avataar. We are a computer vision and AI platform. So we sit at the confluence of 2 technologies where AI acts as the human brain, computer vision acts as the substitute for human eyes, and we end up reimagining the visual discovery with our spatial experiences. So we use existing 2D content to create immersive spatial 3D experiences for the end consumers across different platforms in the retail industry. We'll obviously talk a bit more about that, but really happy to be here today and part of this.
This is Kamal, and I'm co-founder KiE Square Analytics. Also chief data scientist there, trying to do justice to my PhDs from old time. But I find them no longer relevant. Because the world has really moved on, and the AI/ML, the way it has picked up, we just hope that we are learning enough. So each day is a learning is what I can say today. So sitting on old laurels cannot make you reach anywhere is the realization we have had. This company has been there and serviced several Fortune 100 clients across the globe, Fortune 500 clients, in US and in Europe. Delivered more than 500 programs over the last 10 years. The good part is, which we realized much later, that because being in B2B space is not the rocket space where you could just start flying on the day 1 or day 20 or day 100 also. So it's a long perseverance space. So been there. But the good part is that now products have started coming out of our stable, which are AI products. And I'm very happy to share that in the last 3 months, I have bought at least 8 domains, okay? And at least 2 of those are AI domains, so you know what I mean actually, and the path that we are taking. And the work that we have done so far is now getting translated into the AI ML battery so that it can be pushed forward. So I think it is exciting times, whether it is B2C or B2B, and we really are enjoying, being part of this time at this point in time. Thank you.
Perfect, perfect. No, so we have investors, we have industry chairpersons, we have, of course, entrepreneurs who are also building something exciting stuff. And then, yes, I'll quickly take another 10 seconds and quickly introduce me. I'm more from the investor side. So Aditya Arora, of course, CEO of Faad Capital. We're a $40 million fund, early stage category 1, SEBI registered, investing in early stage startups. Till date, invested in about 100 companies, out of which I think 5% would be AI companies who are directly working on AI, and another I think 10 to 15% would be companies who are using some sort of AI in their model. So I think exciting stuff. So let's start. I want to open the floor within the panel for, I think the first question that comes to the mind is, AI has a lot of negative effects also that we talk about, whether we talk about, let's say, an interpretation bias, whether, let's say, we talk about an hallucination, or whether, let's say, we talk also about ethical AI, that, of course, how it can be used in a good governance practice. So maybe if you could share certain thoughts as to what kind of developments you're seeing in the new modern age AI, the models that are being developed, right? Is it more towards the welfare of humanity, or is it still looked down upon as something which is, of course, an anti-human source also? Maybe anyone, if you want to start with.
So, yes, there are a lot of concerns regarding the inaccuracies of AI models. So there was a recent case with a very famous airline where an Gen AI powered chatbot used by them promised some discounts to the customers, which was not what it is supposed to do. And it took decisions on behalf of the airline staff, which airline refused. So I guess, and in my personal, if I start with my personal experience, when we use ChatGPT or even our own tool, Rabbitt AI, sometimes AI goes beyond what it is asked to do, it is trained to do, because AI is trained to optimize what its users like. So in statistics also, in mathematics also, we reward, there's something called as rewarding the AI model, where you reward it if it satisfies the user experience, which depends on the prompts and chains you are giving it. So it can go beyond what it is trained for. Now, how to responsibly use it? So for example, my experience of developing AI models for the industries which are very sensitive like defense, to the industries which are very critical like education, what we have done is use AI only as per your convenience, don't give full power to AI. So basically building guardrails around this and knowing when to use AI. Absolutely. So when even coding came in for the very first time in 2000s or 95, so people became so excited that everything will do by doing the hard coding through Python or Java and all, and there was a hype around that. But I guess there are some things which can be very easily done by a normal calculator and an Excel better than a Java program or a C++ program would do. Same thing is with Gen AI. Not everything needs to be delegated or passed to AI. It should be very well served within your use cases, and limited powers should be bestowed, and humans should remain the master. And there are frameworks. Guardrails are being built. AI is given very limited access to data. And there, even within the AI, we are creating 2-3 kinds of, there is a testing model, there's a reward model, and then probably there's also a human layer where we make the AI fine-tuned for an industry use case through RLHF techniques, reinforced learning through human feedback, where we actually tell the model not to go there, not to go here, and also put guardrails and security measures. Yeah. I guess that's happening. Yeah, that's the way to go.
So you're saying, of course, there is certain way in which it of course can be performed, can be outputted, and of course you can set up guidelines like how you scold a child, right, to not to do these things. You can scold a AI practically to not go there and of course do these things. Yeah, please.
So just to add more a holistic perspective, as I see AI. So I'm a student of the Bhagavad Gita, and there Lord Krishna tells to Arjun that your mind can be your best friend. At the same time, it can be your worst enemy.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So when we apply this allegory to AI, I think it has pretty similar analogy, and the kind of wave that we are seeing with AI, it is going to have a transformational change in terms of how we operate.
Yep.
So while it is transformative, at the same time, people who are building AI systems, they need to be transparent, and at the same time, they have to develop this trust that what they are trying to build is something which is going to help humanity.
Sure.
So that's
Very interesting take. Yeah.
Certain industries, let's say flight operations, for example, are very sensitive industries, for example, even though AI has taken in, but the confidence that you could move over a lot of these change operations which are there, or managing internal dynamics also. We have heard things which have happened in the past which were not very nice. So the guardrails, like you said, in industries like airlines, in industries like healthcare also. While healthcare has the biggest potential, I must say, and I know for sure now Fractal, it's a B2B again, which launched a company called Cure.ai.
Yeah.
And Cure is a simple thing. It's not like a very crazy big thing, which is there. But all it does is that if you have, past X-rays, CT scans, it goes through that data, trains the model just to be able to predict correctly, what a new CT scan which comes its way, what kind of complexity it has, what are the immediate measures that need to be taken, or it's absolutely fine. Now, while this is good, but the type 1, type 2 error is still quite high. And it's an industry in which you cannot afford to give a wrong advice to a patient. You'll get sued in a very bad way.
Yep.
So while that is there, but the fact is that within 4 years, being a B2B space, Cure is already valued at 230 million today.
Yes.
So I can only say that we are still kind of scratching the surface here, and valuations are going to go through the roof. Guardrails need to be there. Right industries have to be just kind of skimmed through, and I think great potential exists.
Definitely. I think since valuations are not set by AI, mostly by humans, so there is always a cognitive bias as to how huge it can go. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, building on to what Deepak said, and I completely agree. Although AI is an extremely powerful tool, we cannot actually sit back and wait for the regulators to tell us what the policies should be and what the guardrails should be. When you start using such powerful technology, the onus is on the creators as well, because the creators are the best guys to start putting guardrails and checks and balances, which comes through ethics, comes through morality, and comes through the fact that your tool is being used for the human good. And if those principles are kept at forefront of the development, I think everything flows.
So one very interesting thing before we actually go into the policy side, because that's also a very interesting question. A lot of companies are moving, of course, to US, mostly India-based companies. So of course we'll come to that take. But before we do that, I think in today's world, what I've personally seen, and I'm sure Deepak would also agree, that every investor who's getting a pitch deck today has AI written over it, right? Where you don't even know what is the end use of AI, right? It has typically become a buzzword. What e-commerce was in, of course, 2000s was what of course your IoT was in early 2010s, and what your blockchain was in, of course, 2015 onwards, right? Crypto then in 2019. It has become a wave. So what is your definition of AI, that when you look at a company or when you look at even yourself, right? This is what I call as an AI startup, as an AI company, and this is a not AI startup or a not AI company. So maybe your take on that.
Um, Actually, you've raised a very good question. Everything has a maturity model. So if you look at AI models, it's got a maturity model. It starts with manual, automation, rule-based engines, then semi-automation, self-learning, and then AI. So you have to actually sit back and distinguish which level of maturity a company is coming from. Many people start calling algorithmic implementations as AI or rule-based engines as AI. That's not really true. It's more of an advanced automation. So AI starts coming into picture when you start learning, building models, you're learning from it, and you're actually building intelligence and self-expanding intelligence out of.
Gartner has a very interesting take on this entire cycle, which, as you mentioned, for e-commerce, blockchain, different technologies, that cycle kind of repeats itself. AI is also seeing that. So it has gone to the peak of inflated expectations and is slightly coming down from there. Now, what's important for AI as a domain to do is to get into the slope of evolution from here on. So that is more longer lasting in terms of its impact, as we have seen with internet, with e-commerce, which have been able to get onto that phase without just dying down, with some other technologies have. So what is important in this phase is for the technology to focus on value, and that value or outcome driven, as many investors, as investors you must also be looking at, right? What is the end outcome that the platform is delivering?
Yeah.
And it's practically based on two simple pillars. First is data. What is the data that you're using in terms of building that platform today?
Sure.
Is it really your moat? Because algorithms are no longer the moat. Algorithms are mostly open source. Everyone can build an AI tool today, but it will depend on what kind of data it is working on. So that's very important pillar. Second is the community of users who is using your platform. Because I think, as Harneet was also mentioning about human enforced learning, so as more and more people start using your platform, it's getting further trained. With more experiences being built, it's learning from there on. So these two pillars help you to build a real AI platform and not get into the hype cycle and eventually die down.
Got it. So you're saying essentially data is eventually going to be a moat, and basis which how you're training your models, and of course how you're building your own set of sequencing around it, is going to be eventually important, and the users who are using it as well.
Yes, it will be the confluence of both, because there is no other real moat. It's when, if you were to look into finding the right company to invest in or right player to bet today, if they miss on any of these pillars, they're going to struggle in the long term.
No, absolutely. I think moats are overrated in today's world. It's like a famous cab company once said that their own maps were being copied when they themselves, of course, copied that from another open source company. So essentially, I think moats are very underrated that way. I think Deepak also had a take, and then Harneet also had a take.
So I think from a business perspective, I just zoom out and talk about more from a business and an investor perspective. So when we look at AI, to your point that every startup pitch deck now has an AI inbuilt into it. So when we look at from a business perspective and from a investor lens perspective, what we see is the value which that specific product and solution is bringing, and that product or solution, is it really a delta 4 against the competition? So the problem that is there existing in the system and the existing products and solutions which are there. So this AI product, how different stark it is as compared to the existing products. So is this really on a delta 4 level in terms of solving that? And if I map it more from a B2B or enterprises perspective, how quickly will it help in terms of revving up the sales, how efficient it is in terms of optimizing the costs. So is it more from that specific perspective that we really look at and then make our decisions?
Very, very interesting take.
Very interesting. I'll agree to that, and I'll add just two quick points. One, I guess a lot of people confuse AI and Gen AI. AI has been there for 10 years and
Yeah.
it was not in that hype.
Yeah.
Even when I wanted to pursue AI, there were not very good opportunities only in AI. In the name of AI, they make you do data analytics and very basic pre-processing kind of stuff. Gen AI is a recent hype, and when as a founder and also an angel investor, when I look at companies or products or problems, I follow a 3-step framework. Whether someone is using AI slash Gen AI for either delegation or number 1 delegation, number 2 augmentation, or number 3 replacement or shifting. So delegation is not an AI mode. Delegation is, let's say you have a better processor now to process your data that everybody has access to. If some company is only applying AI in their product, service or market at delegation level, I don't call it a Gen AI company, because they are just delegating some task which probably earlier inferior model is doing or somebody else is doing via coding. Now AI is helping it. They are delegating it to AI.
They are just fine-tuning it, yeah.
They are delegating it to AI, so that's not a mode. Second layer is augmentation. Augmentation, in Microsoft's terms, it means that you are actually helping somebody amplify their job role, right? For example, GitHub Copilot is one example of augmentation. So tools like which is helping me generate good emails, generate good coding, and generate probably SQL or generate images and videos. Those sort of companies, I would say, are in the augmentation stage.
Sure.
So they are the ones who are actually using AI. Probably some weightage could be given, and I guess 80% of good AI startups are in that range. Third is replacement. I guess you were having a talk earlier, this robotics and AI having limbs, and AI can also do your laundry, and AI can also fight wars on behalf of you. That is replacement. That thing has not yet come, and I guess the most worry is around that. That, oh, AI will replace, AI will kill, because I guess that makes for the best news articles, the most, clickbait thing that happens, but we are not there yet. So I guess the second stage is there, where I personally invest or advise people to invest or try to build. Augmentation is the key for now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. In fact, instead of replacement, I always feel it's the higher order jobs that actually get created when replacement models come in, because what you're replacing is mundane job with higher order jobs, and that's when you'll need more AI scientists, more skilled engineers in there to manage those systems. So the scare against what we keep saying, job replacement, that's not really true. It's just that people will have to study more and be more skilled to get a better job.
So rather than replacement, it's a shift. So when steam engine came, people feared that when steam engines became more efficient, people feared now coal will be required less and coal mines will go away and people will lose their jobs. And there was a lot of protest if you go back in history. But what essentially happened is there was more application of engines, and still today, coal mining is such a big industry and engines are getting used in everywhere. They find more applications and there is no job replacement.
No, of course. See, job is, I think we can go on and on. It's a different topic altogether, right? We would probably not want it, of course, to replace jobs. At least not the investors' jobs also, right? Otherwise, we'll go out of business. But yes, let's come a bit towards, of course, the central discussion around the buzzword. I think, Kamaljit, you also had
just a quick one, because you started with how is it that you identify what could be AI and so on. So I think panel has given its point of view. I'll just give what we went through, because like I said, that we had a big repository of work that we had done over a long period of time. Now, not everything really qualifies for AI. You go back. But when we sat through 1 week of full brainstorming, top guys, being there and trying to figure out what actually have we produced in the last so many years. So we saw that there were actually 60 intellectual properties, approximately 60 that we had. Now that 60 is good, it's good to have, it's in the kitty. But when you have to take it to the market, the idea has to be scalable as well. It has to, create its own market and figure out for itself whether it will sell, whether it is AI, non-AI, so from our standpoint. So we figured out that at least 10 of those, 50 disqualified because of so many reasons actually. Of the top 10, we saw that half of those were actually ML ideas, which we were also mimicking. Actually, we could push this ML as an AI You know, in our minds, it was like, okay, this is ML, but if we put a layer here, it can actually get pushed as AI. But then we realized then we'll not be true to ourselves if we do that. So we said, okay, these 5 are ML, let's go with the ML philosophy. But the top 5 that we thought, you know, not all of, some were self-learning there, and at least 2 of those which were scalable also, and which had, you know, the self-learning plus Gen AI concepts. He said that, okay, let's be honest, let's stick with only 2 and, you know, kind of push that because this is scalable and meets all the criteria to be truly AI. So then we had to convince the team which was putting so much effort behind, you know, that, okay, we are not going with 10, we are just going with 2. So fine, I mean, it took a while, but we were able to, you know, kind of take them home. But good part is that we launched the product last week. It's called KiEverse. It's a multiverse of, you know, AI from a campaign optimization and from a, you know, a kind of marketing spending and investment standpoint. So we just launched it recently, and we are happy that, you know, at least something made it to the market now.
No, perfect, perfect. I think we, of course, had a nice volley around, of course, what is exactly AI, what is exactly non-AI, and also, I think the much needed question around is AI going to replace the jobs? I think what I have seen is 2 things. One is that AI is, of course, is looked still as a stack, right? And stacks generally don't get replaced. So in my view, of course, it's here to stay, of course, for a while. The second, I think, thing is that and I would love, of course, all of your take with it, but since we have, of course, time, just 3 minutes left, I'll just merge through both the questions. One is the enterprise side of AI, right, is still yet to be adopted. In fact, on my way to this event, I was talking to an AI founder who's building a personal assistant, of course, for all your enterprise level needs. I've seen that enterprises are still yet to, of course, adopt it fully. Right, there's a whole lot of regulatory compliance also that stops them from accepting. So I would first love the take on it. And second is, I think on the global policy and framework we're talking about, India specific recently, of course, was in the news for announcing an AI park, which they sanctioned about 10,000 odd crores of budget specifically for setting up AI parks in the country. So how do you see the enterprise level adoption in terms of AI scalability? And second is, how do you see a policy level kind of implementation also coming, which can push specifically the AI agenda in India?
Maybe I can add on the enterprise point, Aditya, because we work with a lot of enterprises as our customers, and I'll point out 3 distinctions which has helped us to win them as customers, which a generative AI platform doesn't kind of adopt to. First is the difference between non-deterministic to a deterministic approach. Most of the GPTs around that you would see or other Gen AI tools that you would have, they're all non-deterministic in their outcome focus. You have to bring in deterministic nature for enterprise to really adopt it. Whether then you take an agentic eval approach or you bring in a RAG to help achieve that, but being deterministic is very important. Second, what the enterprises need is control over editing. Control over the editing of the output which comes from it. It's not like that if you get let's say a video from Sora today and you can't control it, that's not usable for them. So that's very much needed. And the third piece, which kind of flows into the policy side as well, is the ethicality behind the whale, right? So what kind of data was used? If you cannot tell me what was the database used to build this platform, I really can't use it because I don't want to expose myself to copyright suits tomorrow. That is a complete no for enterprises. So if you can take care of these 3 aspects, as we have been doing at Avataar, so you can actually build a solution for enterprise where they can use AI today.
Very, very, very interesting take. I think the founder's take much needed that we wanted. Yeah, maybe Deepak.
So I'll share some insights on the enterprise specific side because we get a lot of startups which are building solutions for the enterprises. And typically what we see is from a GTM perspective, when we take those back to the enterprises, there are 2 broad concerns. One are around the security aspects and the second one is around the data specific aspects. some of these large organizations have such critical data, of their customers, especially if it is a bank, on the financial side, and putting in an AI startup product on top of it, and so there is a lot of risk awareness, that we see in terms of leveraging a lot of these specific products more around security and data specific aspects. They want to do it in their specific on-prem, and so there are a lot of pilots, a lot of experiments still happening there. But in terms of taking these from startups into enterprises, still there is a lot of resistance and a lot of work needs to be done.
Sure.
How I also see the space evolving is that when we look at the enterprises, from an innovation perspective, by virtue of their huge size, there is inertia, and they are not able to have that kind of a speed which a startup would be able to do.
Absolutely.
But what we see is that there will be a lot of M&A activity which will happen. So there will be a lot of these startups, say for example, which are in the vertical AI specific space. They are building a lot of good, products and solutions. And once they reach a decent scale, they will be open to, acquisition. And a lot of these big companies or big enterprises would come in and gobble them
That
up.
we are seeing already happening also at a large scale.
So that is something which will happen from an enterprise perspective. From a policy perspective, I think India has, national AI policy. We see a lot of AI first, frameworks and all those things which are coming in. In fact, yesterday itself, Hyderabad announced an AI city, and so a lot of work is happening on that. What I also see is that while from a policy framework and all those things are happening, there has to be something which has to be done on the skilling specific front, right from the schools and colleges.
Perfect.
Because AI, Gen AI is going to disrupt the next 20, 30,
Indeed.
40 years.
Indeed.
The way we operate, it's going to change.
Indeed.
The change is so fundamental as microprocessor to smartphones to internet, that has happened.
Perfect.
So from the schools itself, from the colleges, a lot of these things have to be embedded. So from an education perspective, these things have to be embedded.
Perfect.
And also from an enterprise perspective, people who are in their mid-careers, software engineers and all, there has to be a huge upskilling that needs to be done.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
all those things need to be
So
embedded.
I'll of course cut you short also now because we are almost past the time. So two quick takes of course from Shruti and
I
then
will
from
just add one line to it. So that is the only reason that enterprises have a problem of using these GPTs. We started Rabbitt AI, and our take was that your data don't have to leave your premise. We will take our model and our infra to in your virtual private cloud, smaller model which works for you. So enterprises have two problems. One, they don't want to share their data because of privacy concerns. Second is they also don't want to share their training process. For example, as we work in education industry.
Yeah.
So let's say as a university, if I am creating questions and good content,
Perfect.
right, I cannot rely on that. I cannot make that model open source, right?
Perfect. So Harneet, sorry I had to cut you short.
Yeah, just building on to what everybody is saying. In case of enterprises, what my experience has been, they have so many distributed systems across their organization that they don't have a central bank of data that they can actually use very easily to train AI models.
Absolutely.
Right? So first activity that they need to do is that consolidation and bringing the whole thing to intelligence together before building the models. So there's a lot of work being done on isolated aspects
Sure.
of enterprise,
Sure.
but not as a holistic thing. But in terms of policy, just closing that thing is the bigger the enterprise, the more protective they are to their reputation.
Sure,
And their reputation impacts a lot on their stock market, on their customers. So they are more risk averse.
So we
than
need
these
on-premise solutions, of
Yeah,
course.
absolutely.
More that. Yeah.
But while I agree with most of what you said, only the last part, from the data standpoint, I feel organizations, enterprises many times have the data, but they do not have the mindset yet. They don't want to expose them to that risk of investment. So what they've done is that they've created labs so they can experiment or they can partner with somebody who can take part of the risk and has skin in the game to some extent. So I think that's what enterprises are doing. Government has been a very big evangelizer in the past. And I would, through this forum, definitely put it out that government has to take not one step forward, maybe 3 steps forward on this and bring in enough investment, create enough, they have fantastic, best use cases are with the government. if I look at it, defense, customs, police, security, health, there's so much. So I think government has to put this, pedal on here, and I think we'll all gain in the
Government has to
process.
do that, yeah. There's so many compliances that AI startups also need to take. They don't have clarity. If government creates a central level of framework where you can get all these HIPAA compliances, GDPR, SOC 2, every compliance that is out there, I think it solves, and of course also helping in enterprise level implementation. At a lot of PSUs also are now using AI in their work. So I would have loved to take forward this conversation further, but of course, in the paucity of time, thank you so much to all my lovely co-panelists for being here and sharing your insights, and to all the lovely audience who of course listen to us so patiently. It's been the most patient audience I've seen in almost any event. So let's have a huge round of applause for all of us. Yep.